Every year, research analysts and investors spend tens of thousands of hours and millions of dollars scouring the web for information related to company sustainability. Their goal is to generate a metric in which companies can be scored and benchmarked against. Sustainable investing has become the latest rage in finance, and research has shown that companies that have a higher regard for the environment, have increased social standards, and crack down on their governance tend to outperform those who don't. Measuring ESG gets tricky. It's a highly manual process that requires hundreds of analysts. It's expensive and requires access to hundreds of news feeds and data sources. With ESG AI, we aim to change the game through the power of data and machine learning. Welcome to the ESG AI Research Portal. This portal leverages 750 billion historical data points from thousands of companies that we can analyze at our fingertips. As consumers, we're always spending with credit cards. Financially, Visa seems like an interesting investment, but let's see how they perform according to ESG standards. To start, we simply select Visa from the drop-down. We can open the sidebar for some filtering options. We can select a date range, choose which of the 3 ESG segments to filter on, and even pick a publisher of news articles. Let's analyze everything over the last 5 days. Upon our selection, we see a data drop-down that shows information around 864 articles. This gives us a tabular view across each article that gives you various metrics about the article's sentiment. This data can also be exported for additional analysis if necessary. Below the table, we can see various metric trends over time. For example, we can select positive tone and see that it has gone from below the industry average to above in the last 5 days. This is interesting that there's been more positive sentiment, so let's drill into the ESG scores over time. We can see that Visa is performing strongly in terms of environment, but there's very little social activity. Additionally, their governance score is very low compared to the industry. For our investment, we're really looking for a well-rounded ESG score in the 3 categories, so let's continue our analysis. Looking at the radar chart, we can confirm our findings. We see that the overall ESG score is much less than the industry average. This confirms that Visa may not be the best investment for us, so let's keep going. To the right, we can see the document tone distribution, which is bimodal with about half the articles having negative tone. Below, we see a scatter plot comparing the tone of all the articles. The larger the circle, the more words it contained. This can help us identify something like a tweet versus an article. Another purpose of this portal is to help us find another investment. We can look at how the ESG scores compare to the company's competitors, as they might be better investments. To find competitors from news mentions, we use a deep learning model that returns embedded vectors, which we can visualize here in a 3-dimensional space. We can zoom and pan around this space to see all the companies. We see a dot a bit far away, and this happens to be American Express. We also see that American Express is the second closest connection to Visa. Currently, we're viewing 8 connections, but we can easily change this number in the sidebar. Let's take a quick peek at American Express. It looks like they also only have 1 social mention in the last few days, but the radar chart shows us that they have a much better score in both social and overall. Using the ESG AI research portal, we were able to conclude that Visa was not the right investment in less than 2 minutes and find a much better ESG investment in American Express. ESG AI has taken weeks of manual research and turned it into minutes.